every month. A knock every month. A fresh lie, draped in a new excuse. Seeking my pension money, until one day, he found me waiting. Not alone, but with a lawyer by my side. What unfolded next, he would never, could never, forget. When Jacob pushed open the living room door that morning, the smile on his face was etched with familiarity. A crooked mask I knew too well. It was the same fake, slightly askew grin I'd seen since he was a boy. Whenever he lied about the broken vase in the hall, or the scraped knee he got playing hooky. But this time, the smile withered, lasting only a few brittle seconds. For there, in the green velvet armchair where my late husband Mark used to sit, reading his newspaper, sat attorney Andrew Collins. A brown leather briefcase rested on Andrew's lap, his face as grave as a courtroom judge. I watched, dispassionately, as the color drained from my son's face. His hands trembled, still clutching the house key I'd given him years ago. A key I imagined he'd use to visit his mother, not to systematically plunder her life savings. The air in the room grew thick, suffocating. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall, each second amplifying the silence, counting down to an inevitable explosion. "Mom, what's going on? What is this?" His voice, usually so self-assured, now quivered like a scared child's. I offered no immediate reply. I stood beside the family photos, my gaze lingering on a picture where his smile was still genuinely radiant. Before Emily, my daughter-in-law, entered his life. She arrived like a summer storm disguised as sunlight, leaving behind only wreckage. I folded my arms, feeling the tension hum through every fiber of my being. I was 68 years old, a woman weathered by life and loss. Yet in that precise moment, a strange, unyielding strength settled deep within my bones. Mr. Collins rose calmly, adjusted his dark blue tie, and extended a steady hand. "Hello, Jacob. I'm your mother's attorney. Pleasure to meet you." The world seemed to halt. Jacob looked at me, his eyes wide with disbelief, as if I had literally torn my own heart out and dropped it at his feet. Perhaps, in a way, I had. For 3 long years, I had been nothing more than an emotional ATM for him, a bank that never charged interest, never dared to say no, never closed its doors. And that day, with a quiet resolve, I was shutting that account for good. But to truly understand the path that led me to this moment, the moment I looked my only son in the eyes and irrevocably chose myself, you need to understand where the rot began. Let me lay bare the constant stream of begging, the manipulative lies wrapped in fake affection, the crushing day I overheard my daughter-in-law laughing at me, openly mocking my naivete, while spending my hard-earned money in luxury restaurants. I will tell you about the nights I simply wanted to give up, to disappear. And then, the morning I realized I would no longer be the mother who bowed her head, meekly accepting scraps of respect. This is not just a story of money, but of a reawakening. It is the story of how I learned at 68 that a mother's love can indeed be infinite. But her dignity, her very essence, is not a commodity to be traded. Sometimes, to truly save the one you love, you must first save yourself. So, settle in. For what comes next will force you to confront a difficult question. How far would you truly go for your child? And how much would you endure before finally, definitively, saying enough? When Mr. Really 9, Collins finally opened that brown leather briefcase, methodically laying out the paper's bank statements, receipts, my shaky handwritten notes, I felt my entire life condense. It became tangible evidence of a single, profound crime: trusting too much, loving without limits. believing implicitly that blood ties always came first. Even when that very same blood was methodically draining me dry, Jacob stepped back once. Then again. A desperate, futile attempt to escape the truth about to crush him. "Mom, wait. Can we talk in private?" he pleaded, his voice thin. That was the moment. I delivered the line I had rehearsed for weeks in front of my own mirror, crying and shaking, but with an unshakable certainty. "No. Jacob, today you sit and listen. For 3 years, only you have talked, while I have listened. Today, this conversation will be different. If you wish to understand the quiet, simmering desperation that drives a mother to corner her own son, then keep listening. Because what happened in that room, in that house, changed everything. A line was drawn. To truly arrive at that pivotal day, I must take you further back, to where everything began its slow, agonizing crumble, one brick at a time, until nothing but dust remained where love, solid and true, once resided. Losing Mark wasn't merely losing a husband. It was as if someone had abruptly pulled the ground out from under me. I was left suspended in empty, terrifying space. Adrift, no longer knowing where to go or who I was without him. We had been married for 43 years, sharing the same pillow, the same burden of bills, the same whispered dreams. Then, in an instant, while watering the backyard garden, his heart simply stopped. Suddenly, I was utterly, irrevocably alone. The house, once a bustling home, felt impossibly vast, its silence deafening. I would wake in the dead of night, instinctively waiting to hear his familiar snoring, only to feel the cold, empty space beside me. A crushing loneliness pressed down on my chest so profoundly that I slowly forgot how to eat. Food, prepared and consumed alone, had lost all its flavor, all its meaning. My name is Julie. I am 68 years old, and for over 30 years, I worked diligently as a lunch server at a public school in Portland. My pension, a modest $3,200 a month, was not a fortune, but it was enough to live on, to keep me independent. The house I inhabit was a gift from an aunt, a 2-story haven with cheerful green-tiled kitchen floors and apple trees in the backyard. Mark and I raised Jacob within these walls. Every corner, every creaking floorboard, held a cherished memory, now shadowed by absence. For months after Mark's passing, I barely emerged from my room, a prisoner of grief. It was my kind neighbor, Helen, who patiently, persistently, pulled me back to life's edge. She brought food, sat with me for hours, and talked, refusing to accept my polite refusals. "Julie, life's not over yet," she insisted gently. "You're still here. As long as you're breathing, you've got to live." But I no longer knew how to navigate life when I was no longer Mark's wife. The world had fundamentally shifted. It was in this raw, vulnerable state that Jacob began visiting more often, my only child, 42 years old. Then working as a data analyst for a tech company in Seattle. He was bright, polite, very much his father's pride. After Mark's death, Jacob came every week, bringing the waffles I liked, taking me for slow walks around the lake, sitting on the porch while I drank my morning coffee. I clung to those visits with the desperation of a drowning person to a piece of driftwood. Jacob was, after all, the only family I had left in the world, and he knew it. One afternoon, about 6 months after the funeral, he brought her, a woman with straight, shiny hair, perfectly manicured nails, and clothes that screamed designer. "Mom," "This is Emily. We're dating." Emily greeted me with a smile that felt forced, and an air kiss that didn't quite make contact with my cheek. She spent the entire visit glued to her phone, while Jacob, eager and beaming, recounted their meet-cute on a dating app and lauded her supposed amazing qualities. I tried earnestly to share his excitement, to find joy in his happiness. But the unsettling way Emily's eyes ceaselessly scanned my house, lingering on each object as if meticulously calculating its market value, sent a cold shiver down my spine. It was a premonition I couldn't shake. When they finally left, Helen, who had observed everything from her window across the yard, rushed over, her brow furrowed with concern. "Julie, be careful with that girl. She's got the look of someone who's after something." I laughed, dismissing her worries, saying she was overreacting, that everyone deserved a fair chance. But deep down, a quiet, insistent voice confirmed Helen's stark truth. 3 months later, the phone buzzed, Jacob's voice brimming with excitement. "Mom, I proposed to Emily." She said yes. My heart tightened. A perplexing mix of joy and a growing, unspoken fear. Joy that my son had found what he believed was love. Fear, born of a mother's ancient intuition. A quiet alarm. I hugged him, congratulated him, and promised to be there for his big day. A week later, the first request arrived. Jacob sat on my sofa, his hands twisting nervously. "Mom, the wedding's so expensive. Could you help out a little? We'll pay you back after." The amount he casually mentioned was $8,000, almost 3 months of my hard-earned pension. I had a small savings account, a modest sum Mark and I had diligently built over our lifetime together. It didn't earn much interest, but it represented security, a tranquil peace of mind. Seeing my son's hopeful, pleading eyes, and imagining Mark missing the wedding, a pang of sentimental longing, I nodded. "All right, I'll help." His grateful smile, broad and immediate, made me feel useful again. It made me feel like a mother. I didn't yet realize that same smile would reappear, month after month, adorned with new, increasingly elaborate excuses, different, larger numbers, and the same hollow promise, "I'll pay you back." I had no inkling I was opening the door not just to my savings, but to my own slow, agonizing downfall. When Jacob hugged me, his whispered, "Thanks, Mom. I don't know what I'd do without you," filled me with nothing but love. Blind love, the kind that transforms a mother into unsuspecting prey. Jacob had discovered a profound, terrifying truth. His mother was a veritable safe, overflowing with unconditional love. A vault that never said no, the kind that never closed its doors, no matter the cost. And that discovery, I now know, was the beginning of the end. The wedding itself unfolded on a sunny Saturday in November. A small, intimate affair, adorned with white and gold, attended by around 80 guests. Emily, radiant, wore an expensive-looking strapless gown, while Jacob beamed in the elegant gray suit I'd helped him select. I cried silently during their vows. Tears for Mark, wishing he could have witnessed our son marry. But during the reception, a chilling incident froze me to my core. I was seated at the last table, engaging in light conversation with my friend Carol, when I overheard Emily speaking loudly, carelessly, to a friend directly behind me. "Good thing my mother-in-law paid up, or we'd have had to get married at City Hall. That old lady's been sitting on her money for years and doesn't even know what to do with it." Her friend laughed, a brittle, knowing sound. I pretended not to hear. I pretended because I desperately wanted not to ruin Jacob's special day. I pretended because I clung to the hope I had simply misheard, misunderstood. I pretended because, Deep down, the terrifying truth of her words resonated, shaking my fragile world. 2 months after the wedding, Jacob showed up again. It was a Friday afternoon. I was carefully taking a roast out of the oven when I heard the familiar turn of the key in the lock. "Mom, are you home?" He stepped in, his expression perfected into a pitiful grimace. Sitting at the kitchen table, he spoke softly. "Mom, I need to talk to you." My heart sank. A familiar dread. I recognized that tone instantly. The exact same one he had used at 15 when he confessed to wrecking his brand new bike. "Go ahead, son." He took a deep, theatrical breath. "Emily and I need some furniture for the new apartment. We found a 2-bedroom near downtown. Small but affordable. The problem is, it's completely empty. Emily's tired of sitting on plastic chairs." He paused, a practiced beat, waiting for me to fill the silent blank. "How much?" "Jacob, if you could help with around $4,500. That'd be great. We found a few sales. Just the basics." That amount was more than a month's pension. But I had just been paid, and a small sum still remained in my savings. "I'll see what I can do," I replied, my voice already resigned. His face lit up instantly. He stood and hugged me tight. A performative embrace. "Thank you. Mom, really. We won't forget this." The very next day, I transferred the money. Then, 3 quiet weeks passed. No call. No thank you. No visit. It was Helen who, with her usual blunt honesty, broached the subject. "Julie, has your son invited you to see the new place?" Yet I lied effortlessly, saying yes, that it was lovely, that they had impeccable taste. The truth, the bitter truth, was I hadn't been invited. They only remembered me, it seemed, when they needed something. I pushed the thought away, deep into the recesses of my mind. It hurt too much, too profoundly, to face. 3 more quiet months drifted by. A deceptive calm. Then, late one night, the phone rang. It was Jacob. His voice panicked, breathless. "Mom, sorry for calling so late, but it's urgent. Emily's in terrible pain. She needs a root canal. Full treatment. Can't wait. She's taking painkillers, but nothing's working." My heart clenched. A spasm of pain, not for Emily, whom I barely knew or truly liked, but for my son, desperate for his wife. "How much?" I asked, my voice flat. "The dentist wants $3,000 for everything." "I know it's a lot. Mom, I know I've asked before, but we're stuck. Rent's due. Bills are piling up. I swear, when I get my year-end bonus, I'll pay you back." So, goodbye to my plans for a new refrigerator. Goodbye to repainting the peeling walls that mocked me daily. But mothers, true mothers, give from where there's nothing left. "All right, Jacob," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I'll transfer it tomorrow. Thanks. Mom, you're the best." That night, sleep was an impossible luxury. I lay staring at the ceiling, the numbers swirling in my mind, doing the agonizing math. In less than a year, I had given him $15,500, nearly 5 months of my pension, and I hadn't seen a single dollar returned. But I clung to his promise. "When I get my bonus, I'll pay you back." I believed it, desperately, like a castaway clinging to a piece of driftwood in a vast, unforgiving ocean. Then December arrived. Christmas passed. New Year's passed. No repayment. But on social media, the pictures told a different story. Jacob and Emily, dining at an upscale Japanese restaurant. Emily flaunting designer bags. Jacob sporting imported shoes. I didn't ask. I didn't scold. Mothers don't demand. Mothers give. Mothers endure. Mothers understand. Or at least, that's the comforting lie I told myself each night as I ate noodles and sausage. Because beef had, once again, become an unattainable luxury, and the requests, I instinctively knew, they were just beginning. Jacob had stumbled upon a terrifying, empowering realization: a mother who loves too much, too blindly, never closes her door. She never says no. She never doubts. And me, I was diligently digging my own grave, dollar by dollar, meticulously wrapping each agonizing sacrifice in the shimmering paper of unconditional love. Have you ever given away a piece of yourself, only to later regret the gaping void it left behind? This story, my story, wasn't merely unfinished. It was plummeting towards an unimaginable abyss. My grandmother, a woman whose wisdom I often dismissed in my youth, used to say, "When you give away everything you have, you'll have nothing left. And when you have nothing left to give, they'll call you selfish." I truly grasped the brutal truth of those words only when asking became Jacob's ingrained habit. Every 5th day of the month, with an almost clockwork precision, the very day my meager pension hit my account, the phone would ring, or the lock would turn, or a text message would pop up. Always Jacob. Always with that practiced, half guilty, half pitiful tone that, I now realize, fooled no one but me, the mother, still desperately trying to believe. January, mom. Car trouble. New fuel pump. 2800美元. Can't get to work without it. February, credit card debt. Mom, I messed up. $5,000 in interest. My credit will be ruined. March, an advanced programming course that, I would later discover, was purely fictional. Mom, an investment for a promotion. I paid. Weeks later, when I dared to ask about it, he skillfully dodged the question, claiming he switched classes. Got too busy. He never mentioned it again. April, a big investment. Mom, Emily's brother is launching a digital marketing company. He invited me to invest. Only $6,000. I'll pay you back double in a few months. That was the first time a genuine, gnawing hesitation surfaced. Son, I'm not sure I have enough left. Don't you want me to get ahead? Mom, that single, devastating sentence was enough. It was a weapon. It made me feel like the most terrible, unsupportive mother in the world. I transferred the money the same day. That company never existed. Or perhaps it did. But I certainly never saw a single penny from its supposed returns. May Emily's mom needs an urgent operation. Private hospital. 3500美元. My roof, which leaked incessantly with every heavy rain, could wait. My needs were secondary. And so it continued. Month after agonizing month. One desperate excuse after another. I began to meticulously document everything in an old notebook, hidden deep within a drawer. I didn't even fully understand why then. Perhaps a part of me, buried deep beneath layers of blind love, had started to suspect something. Or perhaps I simply needed to see the escalating madness recorded on paper. A stark, undeniable testament that this was profoundly abnormal. July 2000, $200 for a broken laptop repair. August, $800 for a traffic fine. September 2000, $500 for another dental procedure. This time for Emily's wisdom teeth. October, $3,200 for online English classes for her. By November, 18 months after the wedding, I finally did the terrifying math. I had given my son a staggering total of $43,800. I sat frozen on the edge of my bed, staring at that monstrous number, My own handwriting on the page. It was unbelievable. A sum I could scarcely comprehend. Yet each figure matched a lie. My lifetime savings were utterly gone. I was living precariously, solely on my small pension. I started buying the cheapest blood pressure medication, stretching my prescriptions. I stopped getting my nails done, a small indulgence I once enjoyed. I even reluctantly canceled my health insurance, a critical safety net, because I simply couldn't afford it anymore. Meanwhile, Jacob, in his carefully curated social media photos, continued to glow. New restaurants every weekend, designer clothes. Emily with her perpetually shiny hair, polished nails, and expensive makeup. Then Helen, bless her honest heart, finally articulated the unspoken truth. Julie, I'm sorry, but your son is taking advantage of you. You're thinner, exhausted, and he's living like royalty. Helen, he's my son. He's all I have. I snapped back, my voice laced with anger and fear. Exactly. Julie, that's why you can't let him destroy you. I told her fiercely to stay out of it, that she couldn't possibly understand the boundless meaning of a mother's love. I spoke those words out of a desperate, protective anger. But deep down, a cold terror confirmed she was devastatingly, undeniably right. Then December arrived. A full, grueling year of me draining my very essence for my son. And that's when Jacob appeared, wearing a strange, hopeful smile, a new glint in his eyes. Mom, sit down. I have news. My heart raced, foolishly anticipating something good. A promotion, perhaps. I smiled softly. Mom, I came to tell you, Emily's pregnant. The entire world seemed to stop its frantic spinning. I was going to be a grandmother. After all the grinding pain, the suffocating silence, the crushing loneliness, I was finally going to have a grandchild, a reason to live again, a joy that Mark, my dear husband, wouldn't be here to witness, but one I would cherish fiercely for both of us. I burst into tears, hugging my son tightly, silently thanking God for this unexpected miracle. But then Jacob added, his voice slightly more urgent. There's one more thing. It's a high-risk pregnancy. The doctor wants special tests, imported vitamins, and close monitoring. We need around $5,000 to start proper prenatal care. I didn't have that kind of money. After paying the mortgage and buying groceries for the month, my account was nearly empty. But this was my grandchild, an unborn baby who desperately needed help. Give me a few days. Son, I'll figure something out. I borrowed $1,000 from my best friend, Helen, another $500 from my sister, and took the remaining sum from next month's crucial mortgage payment. I scraped together every last cent, meticulously, like picking up precious crumbs from a barren floor. Finally, I had the $5,000. Jacob left with a blindingly bright smile, leaving me sitting alone in the silent living room, staring at nothing, whispering to myself, it'll be worth it. Once the baby's born, everything will finally make sense. I bought pink and blue yarn, my hands aching with anticipation, and began crocheting a tiny blanket. Every night, I stayed up late, carefully weaving each stitch, imagining that tiny, innocent face, until 3 weeks later, when I opened Instagram purely by chance and saw a photo of Emily. She was in a bar, holding a glass of red wine, laughing without the slightest, most subtle sign of pregnancy. The ground felt like it had simply vanished beneath me. My stomach twisted into a painful knot. A cold, insidious shiver ran down my spine. Even though the sun was shining brightly outside, do you imagine I called them immediately? Not yet. The true, agonizing crescendo of betrayal was still echoing, still coming into focus. Emily, in that photo, wore a tight red dress, the wine glass clutched carelessly in her hand, her smile smug, indifferent, utterly careless. The caption underneath read, "Cheers to a beautiful life with my best girls." I stared at the screen until my vision blurred, the pixels merging into an unbearable truth. The half-finished blanket, those 40 inches of pink and blue lies stitched together with my hope, slipped unheeded from my lap. My hands, now violently trembling, reached for my phone. I called Jacob once, twice, 3 times, straight to voicemail. I texted, "Son, we need to talk." The message showed as seen, but no reply came. 3 days crawled by, each one feeling like 3 years. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I just kept staring at that photo, zooming in on every agonizing detail. Desperate, begging for some rational explanation. Maybe it was an old picture. Maybe she had tragically lost the baby and simply hadn't told me. Maybe, just maybe, I was lying to myself one last time. On the 4th day, my refrigerator stood starkly empty, forcing me out for groceries. I grabbed the canvas bag Helen had given me for Christmas, intending to stop by the familiar corner store. But for some inexplicable reason, that day, I turned my car towards the upscale supermarket downtown, the kind of place where a single jar of imported olives cost a week's worth of my typical meals. Perhaps, for a few fleeting minutes, I just wanted to pretend I still lived a different kind of life, one of quiet comfort. I pushed the empty cart slowly down an aisle, idly glancing at exorbitant prices, when I heard it. Laughter. A laugh so shockingly familiar it made my heart plummet to my stomach. I turned, and there, in the wine section, stood Emily. She was with a blonde woman, their shopping cart overflowing with imported cheeses, expensive wines, delicate Belgian chocolates, luxuries I had never even dared to dream of buying for myself. I was about to stride over, to confront her about the pregnancy, the money, everything. But I stopped. I froze, hidden behind a display of olive oil on sale. And I listened. "Sweetheart, I told you that old woman will believe anything." Emily's voice, clear, arrogant, devoid of even a sliver of shame, sliced through the air. The blonde woman laughed, a high-pitched, mocking sound. "Seriously, she actually bought the pregnancy story," Emily snickered. Of course, Jacob just had to sound serious. Say it was high risk. Needed special tests. She didn't ask a thing. Just wired $5,000. $5,000. The money I'd borrowed. The meals I'd skipped. The mortgage payment I'd raided. They treated it like a casual, uproarious joke. The blonde woman picked up a bottle, reading its label. "Really? Julie, she's that gullible," Emily smirked. "She's like an open door. All you need is one sad story, and the money falls right in." "Last month, Jacob said we needed to redo the living room," Emily went on, completely oblivious to my presence. "And guess what? $4,000 in our account the next day." My heart stopped its frantic beating altogether. I had believed him. Implicitly. Because he was my son. "Don't you ever feel guilty?" the friend asked, more with curiosity than genuine judgment. Emily shrugged. A dismissive gesture. She lives alone in that huge house. Gets a pension every month. What does she need the money for? Leave it to the government when she dies. At least we know how to enjoy life. They both laughed, lightheartedly, as if my very pain, my struggles, were nothing more than amusing fodder for their privileged existence. "What about the Cancun trip in July?" the friend teased, nudging Emily. Her money, 2. Emily, with a triumphant flourish, dropped a bottle of champagne into the cart. Jacob told her his laptop broke. Needed a new one for work. She didn't even hesitate. We even managed to spend 4 days in Playa del Carmen. Amazing. I stood there, paralyzed, unable to breathe. It felt as if someone had stabbed me directly in the chest and was now slowly, deliberately twisting the knife. "How long do you plan to keep it up?" the friend asked, a note of casual interest in her voice. "Until it's all gone." "Of course," Emily replied, her voice cold and calculating. "As long as the cow gives milk, you keep milking. Once she's dry, we'll deal with it." Jacob even said, "If she gets too old, we'll put her in a nursing home and sell the house. She won't even notice." A cow, a nursing home, sell the house. They were talking about me. About the house Mark and I had built brick by precious brick. The home where I had raised my son. The yard where apple trees, now bearing fruit, he once tended as a boy. My legs shook uncontrollably, the world spinning violently around me. Emily's phone rang, and she answered, her voice sickeningly sweet. "Hey, babe. I got the wine. On my way home. Dinner's at 8. Right, then they left. Their cart overflowing with expensive luxuries, all paid for with my shattered trust. I stood there, trembling, my cart utterly empty, my heart emptier still. I walked out of that store, though I have no clear recollection of how I even got home. I only remember collapsing onto the couch, still wearing my coat, staring blankly at the half-finished blanket, pink and blue, 40 inches of woven lies. I cried then, cried until there were no tears left, my throat raw, my chest burning with a pain far deeper than mere financial loss. When the tears finally ran dry, and the raw burning in my throat subsided, I opened my old notebook, the one filled with every precise transaction. I added them all up, painstakingly, month by month, lie by lie. The total came to $47,300. That was the crushing price of my trust, the ultimate cost of a mother's boundless love. I opened my phone, scrolling through their endless pictures, fancy restaurants, exotic trips, designer clothes, opulent luxury hotels, all paid for with my money, while I ate noodles and sausage and split my blood pressure pills in half, desperately trying to make them last longer. But what hurt most, what truly eviscerated me, wasn't the money, or even the audacious lies. It was the brutal, undeniable realization that to my own son, the child I had birthed and nurtured, I was nothing more than a milk cow. Do you think? At that moment, I exploded. Did I pick up the phone and scream until my voice broke? No, I did something else. Something colder. Something infinitely smarter. There is one profound truth about pain. A truth people rarely understand. It can utterly destroy you. Yes, or, if you let it, it can completely, irrevocably transform you. That night, I sat alone in the profound darkness of my living room, the incriminating notebook heavy on my lap, the incessant rain pounding on the already leaky roof. And there, amidst the drumming rain and the echoes of betrayal, I made a decision, a clear, steel-hard resolution. I would not yell. I would not cry anymore. I would not show up at his door, begging for answers or remorse. Because those who lie to and steal from their own mother, who strip her bare with calculated cruelty, do not deserve a warning. They deserve a lesson. And after 68 years of navigating this life, I had learned one immutable truth. Hot, impulsive revenge is for the foolish, for those consumed by immediate rage. Real revenge is cold, cold enough to seep into the very marrow of the soul of the one receiving it, freezing them from the inside out. The next morning, I woke with eyes still swollen from silent tears. But my mind felt strangely, exhilaratingly clear. I poured myself a cup of strong black coffee, put on my beige slacks and a crisp white linen blouse, the outfit I always reserved for truly important days, for battles. Then, I drove purposefully to visit an old friend, Janet, a former co-worker who had retired 2 years earlier. She opened the door, her face illuminated by a bright, genuine smile, the comforting aroma of cornbread and coffee filling the air. "Julie, what a surprise. I thought you'd forgotten me, Janet. I need your help," I said plainly. Without preamble, her smile faded slightly, replaced by a look of concern. "What do you need? Your son's a lawyer." "Right, Andrew." "Yes." Why, I took a deep, steadying breath. "I need a lawyer, Janet. And I need someone I can absolutely trust." Janet didn't ask another question. She simply picked up her phone, called her son, and scheduled a meeting for that very afternoon. Before I left, she squeezed my hand, her grip firm and comforting. "Julie, whatever this is, you'll get through it. You've always been strong." I hugged her briefly, just enough to absorb a sliver of her strength. I couldn't afford to cry anymore. I needed to hoard my tears, to save them for the arduous fight ahead. Attorney Andrew Collins's office was located in a small, unassuming commercial building downtown. It was meticulously tidy, exuded a quiet warmth, and radiated an air of professional competence. He shook my hand firmly, his serious, empathetic eyes conveying a profound sense of calm. "Mrs. Julie, my mother told me a bit about your situation. Can you explain in more detail?" I opened the old notebook, its pages filled with my anguish, and began to point, line by line, date by date, payment by agonizing payment. "My son asked for this money. I trusted him. I gave it. But now, I know it was all calculated lies. He and his wife used it for lavish trips, fine dining, luxury items, flaunting their ill-gotten gains. Meanwhile, I was cutting pills in half, skipping meals, falling further and further behind on my essential bills." Andrew listened with an intense, unwavering focus, taking meticulous notes. When I finished, the last word, a raw whisper, he removed his glasses, looking at me with a complex mix of sadness and a quiet, burning anger. "Do you still have proof of the transfers?" he asked, his voice gentle. "Yes," I replied, my voice gaining strength. "I kept everything. Messages, conversations where they asked for money. Some were deleted. Yes, but I still have many," he said, a heavy sound, then asked directly, "Do you intend to sue your son?" That question landed like a stone in my chest. A jarring, discordant clang. Sue, my own son, those words felt alien, perverse, never meant to exist in the same sentence. I don't know," I stammered, the old wound aching. "I just want him to understand what he did was wrong. I want him to pay back at least part of it. I want him to learn something. Anything." Andrew leaned forward, clasping his hands together, his gaze unwavering. "If that's truly what you want, Mrs. Julie, I know exactly what to do. Mrs. Julie, I'll be honest," he began, his tone direct. "Legally speaking, since these payments are considered informal loans, without explicit written contracts, it's very difficult to win in court. But," he raised a firm finger, "we can use that very weakness to our advantage. to create immense pressure, a formal legal notice, meticulously drafted, outlining all your transfer records and including witness statements. If we have them, will be enough to scare him into negotiating? Negotiate, I asked, a faint spark of hope flickering. What do you mean? It means forcing him to repay you gradually, or at least return a significant portion, along with a legally binding written agreement promising never to ask for money again. He paused, then added slowly, his eyes meeting mine. But for this plan to truly work, you'll need to be ready to go all the way. You'll need to face your son, head on. I looked down at my hands, wrinkled, spotted with the passage of age, hands that had worked tirelessly for 40 years, serving school lunches, hands that once lovingly cradled my baby boy. I'm ready, I said, my voice firm, devoid of hesitation. We spent the entire afternoon meticulously preparing. Andrew guided me through every step, helping me gather my bank statements, print out damning messages, and note down every painful detail I could recall. He even explained the legalities of recording conversations, confirming it only required one party's consent. And in this case, that party was me. Do you have anyone who can testify? He asked. Anyone who's seen or heard about this ongoing pattern? I have Helen, my neighbor, and Janet, my friend, I replied. They both tried to warn me repeatedly. Perfect, he said, a note of satisfaction in his voice. I'll need short, clear written statements from them. I left his office that day carrying a thick folder, but more profoundly, a strange, new feeling in my chest. Not relief, not even the raw heat of anger, but an ice-cold, sharp, and utterly steady determination. Over the next few days, I shed the skin of the victim and became my own meticulous detective. I went to the bank, requesting every single statement from the past 3 years. The teller, confronted by the long stack of printed pages, looked at me, surprised. Ma'am, are you sure you want all of this? I'm sure, I replied, my voice unwavering. And please, highlight every transfer made to my son's account. She handed me 27 pages. 27 pages documenting transactions of $1,000. 5,000 yuan. Even small hundreds. Each one a moment where I had emptied my balance, making myself vulnerable, just to help him. I sat in the bank's waiting area, staring at the cold numbers laid out before me. That was my blood, my life's effort, meticulously transformed into rows of sterile digits. Simone, the branch manager, who had known me for years, walked over, her expression concerned. Julie, are you all right? Is something wrong? I could have lied, but I didn't. Simone, my son has been deceiving me for 3 years. I'm gathering evidence to reclaim at least part of what he took. Her face fell, her empathy immediate. Oh my God. Julie, I'm so sorry. If you need official confirmation of any transactions, just say the word. We'll provide it. I'll need that, I said, a wave of gratitude washing over me. Thank you. I carried the heavy stack of papers home, each sheet a burden, a testament to my foolishness. Helen saw me from across the yard and hurried over, her brow furrowed. Julie, where have you been these past few days? I told her everything. The chilling conversation at the supermarket, the meeting with the lawyer, the developing plan. She hugged me tightly. Thank God you finally woke up. Julie, I was afraid you'd completely fall apart. I need your help. Helen, write down everything you remember. Every time I told you about him asking for money. Every time you warned me. I'll write it tonight, she promised. Janet, my other steadfast friend, also wrote too. Then 3 pages, detailing how she had once lent me money to help Jacob, and how she had watched me grow visibly thinner, weaker, with each passing month. As for me, I painstakingly sifted through my son's public social media profiles, saving every photo, every video, every restaurant check-in, every luxury trip. I created a new folder on my old computer, starkly labeled Evidence, and carefully stored everything inside. A week later, Andrew called. "Mrs. Julie, I've compiled everything. The file is thorough. Now I need to know when you want to take action." "The 5th, I said, my voice steady. "The day he usually comes for my pension money." "You're sure he'll come?" Andrew asked, a note of caution in his voice. "Absolutely," I replied, without hesitation. "He hasn't missed that day once in 3 years." "Then let's prepare a surprise for him," Andrew concluded, his voice resonating with a quiet, shared purpose. We meticulously planned every detail of the confrontation. Andrew would sit, hidden from immediate view, in the living room, a discreet recorder silently running. Helen and Janet, loyal and steadfast, would position themselves across the street, ready to serve as additional witnesses if their presence became necessary. I rehearsed my words, my tone, meticulously practicing how to maintain a calm, unyielding demeanor. The night before the inevitable showdown, I retrieved the small, pink and blue blanket I had so lovingly crocheted for the grandchild who never existed. I placed it carefully inside a simple pink case, alongside all the damning documents. I wanted Jacob to see it. I wanted him to truly comprehend the profound depth of his cruelty, the tangible evidence of his lies. That evening, a text message arrived from Jacob. "Mom, I'll come by tomorrow. We need to talk. Love you." I replied with a single heart emoji. "Okay. I'll be waiting." That night stretched interminably, the longest of my life. I tossed and turned, listening to the insidious whisper of the wind slipping through the window cracks, the faint, comforting hum of the refrigerator, the relentless ticking of the clock, each sound a reminder of the impending dawn. Near dawn, unable to find peace, I walked into the living room, switched on the light, and stared at the pink case on the table. It screamed silently, a testament to shattered dreams. I opened it, my fingers tracing the soft, unfinished blanket, imagining the tiny baby face who was never to be. Then, finally, I broke down. I cried until there were no tears left to shed, my throat tight, my chest burning with an unbearable ache. Because this wasn't merely about money. It was about a dream I had woven with my whole heart, stitch by hopeful stitch, now brutally revealed as nothing more than a cruel illusion. It was about a love that had made me forget myself, leaving me with a hollow reflection of a woman I no longer recognized in the mirror. I sat in the dark, the echoes of my own sobs fading, and one agonizing question resonated in the silence of my mind. Is it worth it? Is it truly worth losing my son? Irrevocably. Over money, I knew instinctively what people would say. A mother suing her own son for money. A mother who cannot forgive. A mother who places cold conditions on love. I opened my phone, my thumb hovering over Jacob's profile picture, his carefree smile, his sunglasses, the sun-drenched beach trip I had unknowingly, foolishly, paid for. I typed a message, my fingers trembling. "You don't have to come anymore. Let's just forget it. I love you." My finger hovered over the send button, heavy with indecision. One single tap, and everything would revert to its painful, a familiar pattern. He'd still arrive on the 5th. I'd still dutifully hand over the money. He'd still lie, and I'd continue to fade away. dollar by dollar. But at least I would still have a son. I almost hit send. Almost. Then my eyes caught an old photo on the wall. Our wedding picture. I was 23, wearing a simple white dress. Mark in a borrowed suit. Both of us smiling, our eyes alight with unblemished hope. I remembered how he used to gently lift my chin when I was sad, look deep into my eyes, and say, "Julie, you're worth more than you think. Never let anyone, not even me, make you forget that." His words, a ghost of a memory, resonated with a new, fierce power. I deleted the message. I didn't send it. I went to bed and, by some small miracle, managed to sleep for about an hour. The next morning, sunlight filtered gently through the curtains. I showered, letting the warm water wash away some of the profound heaviness that clung to my soul. I chose a simple, but immaculately neat outfit, tied my hair back with purpose, and dabbed on a bit of lipstick, not to look good for anyone else, but as an act of defiance, a quiet reminder to myself that I still possessed inherent worth. At 9 a.m., Andrew arrived. Navy suit, leather briefcase, his demeanor composed and professional. "Good morning, Mrs. Julie. Did you sleep well?" "I slept fine." I lied, my voice steady. He sat in the armchair I had strategically placed in a hidden corner, where Jacob wouldn't immediately notice him upon entering. "Are you still sure about doing this?" His tone wasn't merely that of a lawyer, but of someone who genuinely cared for my well-being. "I have to," I replied, my voice unwavering. "If I don't do it now, I never will." He nodded slowly, his understanding palpable. "All right, I'll stay silent until you give me the signal." A text arrived from Helen Julie. "Janet and I are ready. Call if you need us." I sent back a heart emoji. I waited. 30 minutes. An hour. Doubts gnawed at me. Would he show up? Did he somehow sense the ambush awaiting him? Then, near noon, I heard it. The familiar turn of the key in the lock. My heart pounded against my ribs, my palms damp with nervous sweat. Andrew motioned for me to remain calm. "Steady. Mom, you home." That voice. The same voice that had called out to me since he could form words. The one that had once squealed, "Mom, look what I drew, now." It was the voice of someone about to ask for money again. "I'm in the living room." "Son," I called back, my voice surprisingly even. Jacob walked in, and for the first time in 3 long, agonizing years, I truly saw him, not through the blurred, forgiving eyes of a blinded mother, but through the clear, unsparing gaze of a woman who had been systematically used and betrayed. The expensive clothes, the watch worth a year of my pension, the neatly styled hair from a luxury salon. A 2-year-old man, still living off his mother. He looked at me. A flicker of confusion. Then something shifted in his eyes, a fleeting ghost of guilt. Or perhaps pity. Gone as fast as it appeared. "Mom." He began, but stopped dead as he saw Andrew slowly rising from the armchair in the corner. His practiced smile froze on his face, the last vestiges of color draining away. "Mom." "What's going on?" I stayed silent, my gaze fixed on the son I had carried, cradled, and loved more than life itself. In that moment, I felt no urge, no instinct, to protect him anymore. Andrew stepped forward, his hand extended. "Hello, Jacob. I'm Andrew Collins, your mother's attorney. Pleasure to meet you." Jacob stared at Andrew's outstretched hand as if it were a venomous snake, making no move to shake it. "Attorney Mom, what is this? Sit down." "Jacob," I commanded, My voice calmer, steadier than it had ever been. I don't want to sit. I want to know what's happening, I said. Sit down. Something in my tone, a new, unyielding authority, made him obey. He sat on the very edge of the couch, tense and rigid, awaiting his fate. Andrew, with a precise, deliberate movement, opened his briefcase. He began laying out neat stacks of documents on the coffee table: bank statements, incriminating printed messages, the written testimonies from Helen and Janet, carefully curated photos from social media. Finally, he placed the small, pink and blue blanket, its softness a stark contrast to the hard reality. Jacob stared at the growing pile, his eyes transfixed, like a helpless bystander watching a slow-motion car crash. He clearly wanted to look away, but he couldn't. Mom, I can explain, he mumbled, a weak protest. No, I raised my hand. A silent, absolute command. For 3 years, you talked, and I listened. Today, you sit there, and you listen to me. I picked up my small, worn notebook, the one that had become my silent diary of pain and betrayal. November 2021. You asked me for $8,000 for your wedding? December. $4,500 for furniture. Then, February 2022, I read aloud, my voice clear and unwavering, systematically reciting month by month, payment by payment, lie by devastating lie. September 2024. You asked for $5,000, claiming Emily's pregnancy was high risk and needed special tests. I lifted the small, soft pink and blue blanket, its fragile innocence a heavy accusation. I made this, stitch by careful stitch, because I didn't know if it would be a boy or a girl. I stayed up many nights, imagining that tiny, innocent face, a child who, in truth, never existed. Jacob's face, already pale, turned an ashen white. 3 weeks after you took that money, I continued, relentless. I saw your wife at a bar, holding a glass of wine. Not the slightest, most subtle sign of pregnancy. And do you know where I heard the undeniable truth? Jacob, at a supermarket. I heard her brag to a friend that I was an easy fool, a milk cow you two systematically drained every single month. Tears welled in my eyes. But my voice, remarkably, did not shake. Suan Chichen Sanbai Meiyuan. That is precisely how much you took from me. While you dined in luxurious restaurants, I ate noodles with sausage. When you vacationed in Cancun, oblivious, I cut my blood pressure pills in half, stretching them to last longer. While you wore designer clothes, I fell behind on my most basic bills. Jacob opened his mouth, but no sound, no defense. Escaped. The words caught in his throat. The worst part isn't even the money, I continued, my voice raw with emotion. It's that you looked me, your mother, in the eyes and lied. That you shamelessly used my love. That to you, I was nothing but an emotional ATM, a machine to be exploited. My throat burned, raw from the effort. But I knew I had to keep going. Andrew, sensing my struggle, placed a steadying hand on my shoulder, a small gesture. But it anchored me, kept me standing tall. Jacob, he said, his voice firm yet calmly authoritative. Your mother has every legal right to reclaim these funds. We possess overwhelming evidence, credible witnesses, and clear signs of deliberate fraud. We can, and will, take this to court. Jacob, making it a public matter. Andrew continued, his gaze unwavering. Or, he paused for dramatic effect. You can agree to a civil settlement. Settlement, Jacob repeated, his voice barely a trembling whisper, the word foreign on his tongue. You will repay approximately 63% of the total $30,000 in structured installments, along with a legally binding written agreement promising never, under any circumstances, to ask her for money again. I don't have that kind of money, he muttered, his eyes darting frantically. Then find a way, Andrew replied, his voice devoid of sympathy. Sell your car. Drastically cut your expenses. Take out a loan. That is your problem now. You had 3 years of unbridled spending. Now you will spend time and considerable effort paying it back. Jacob turned to me, his eyes now truly wet with tears, a desperate plea in their depths. Mom, please don't do this. I'm your son. Something inside me shifted irrevocably. Or perhaps it finally healed, sealing a wound that had festered for too long. A son, I said, my voice cold and clear, doesn't fake a pregnancy. A son doesn't systematically turn his mother into a bank. A son doesn't call his mother a cow. He burst into loud, choking sobs, his entire body shaking. Mom, I was wrong. I really was. But please don't do this. We can talk privately. Just us. No. Jacob, it's over, I stated. The finality absolute. Over is the part where I suffer and still foolishly call it love. He jumped up, consumed by a furious, impotent rage. You'll regret this. You'll grow old and lonely. You'll see. Son, I said softly, but with the unyielding firmness of steel. I've been profoundly lonely for 3 years. Since the day you decided I was only worth something when I had money to give. He slammed the door shut, the sound echoing through the house like a gunshot, shouting that he'd never, ever come back. When the final reverberation died, I collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably into Andrew's arms, as if he were the one holding up his own mother. I wept, not just for the betrayal, but for the profound relationship that had died, for the son I thought I still had somewhere, deep inside him. Helen and Janet rushed in, their faces etched with concern. Julie, are you all right? No, I whispered, my voice raw, broken, but I will be. I finally will be. Do you truly believe that's where the story simply ends? A beautiful, convenient resolution? Not yet. There was so much more to endure, to learn. If life were that simple, there would be nothing left for any of us to tell. The first payment arrived, precisely on the 5th of November. Exactly $1,000. I was sitting quietly in my kitchen, sipping coffee, when my phone buzzed with a bank notification. Transfer from Jacob Miller, 10,000 yuan. I sat staring blankly at the numbers on the screen. I felt no surge of happiness, no triumphant sense of victory, just a profound, aching emptiness, like I had won a small, arduous battle, but in doing so, had lost a lifetime. Helen, who had faithfully joined me for morning coffee every day since the confrontation, looked over, her gaze searching. See, the money's coming in. How do you feel? I don't know, I admitted, and I truly didn't. Relieved, sad, angry, it all tangled together in a painful knot in my chest. December arrived, bringing another $1,000. No message attached. No, how are you? Mom, no, I'm sorry. Just money. Cold. Obligatory. Like someone begrudgingly paying a late bill. Then, in January, the third transfer arrived, but this time accompanied by a WhatsApp message near midnight. Mom. Emily left me. I lay in the dark, staring at the stark words on the screen. My heart tightened. A familiar clench of pain, even knowing she was poison, knowing her cruel nature. It still hurt to imagine my son in genuine pain. Alone. I didn't reply right away. I lay there for 3 long hours, eyes fixed on the ceiling, carefully weighing every possible word, every potential consequence. Finally, I texted back. A short, measured response. I'm sorry. Son, I hope you'll be okay. Short, devoid of comfort. Of an I told you so. Of a serves you right. Because this wasn't about cheap satisfaction. He read it. I saw the double blue ticks, but he didn't answer. The following week, Janet stopped by, her voice hesitant. Julie, did you hear Emily's got someone new? She posted pictures yesterday. My first instinct, a muscle memory of old habits, was to grab my phone. To search? To know. But I stopped. I consciously pulled back. I don't want to know. Janet. But Julie, I don't want to. Her life's no longer my business. Neither is his. In that way, I was learning that. Slowly. Painfully. But one deliberate step at a time. To detach. February brought another $1,000. March. Another 1,000. I started carefully using the money. Not to accumulate wealth, but to slowly, methodically, fix up my neglected house. First, the chronically leaking roof. Then, the old, noisy refrigerator. I bought my essential medication in full. No longer having to cut pills in half. Stretching what little I had. I bought fresh meat every week. A simple luxury I hadn't afforded myself in years. Replacing the endless noodles. And strangely, despite this new freedom, I often felt a strange, pervasive guilt, as if spending my own rightful money was somehow wrong. As if I were the villain in this ongoing story. During a routine visit to Andrew's office to update paperwork, I confessed this strange feeling to him. It feels strange. Andrew. Every time I use the money, like I'm doing something bad, he put his pen down, looking at me intently over his glasses. Mrs. Julie. What are you talking about? This is your money. It's always been your money. He took it from you through calculated lies. You're not taking revenge by spending it. You are simply restoring fairness. Restoring what was always yours. His voice softened slightly. He's your son. Yes, but you're his mother. Mrs. Julie. Not his servant. Not his personal bank. He leaned forward, his gaze piercing. You've already done the hardest thing a mother can do. You set a firm, necessary boundary. Now, don't go back. Don't punish yourself further. Just live. I walked out of that office. Andrew's words echoing in my mind like a quiet mantra. Live your life. Did I even remember how to live? Purely for myself. After so many years of living for others. For duty. For blind love, April brought something truly unexpected. On the 4th, a day before the next payment was due, Jacob called. Not a text. An actual, trembling call. I saw his name flashing on the screen. My heart racing. My palms damp, with a mix of fear and a reluctant, infamiliar hope. I picked up on the very last ring. Mom. His voice was rough, unpolished. Mom. Can I talk to you? I'm listening. Can we meet in person, just for half an hour? I need to say some things. Important things. A part of me. The old, bruised part. Wanted to scream no. I was scared. Scared of softening. Of going backward. Of slipping effortlessly back into the role of the foolish. endlessly forgiving mother again. When I asked, my voice cautious, tomorrow afternoon, I'll come to your house. No. Meet me at Laurelhurst Park. 3 o'clock. There was a brief, stunned silence on the other end. Okay. Mom. Thank you. I set the phone down gently, staring at the screen as if it might, at any moment, explode. Helen, who had been quietly making tea in the kitchen, had overheard everything. Are you sure about this? Julie, no. I admitted honestly. But I think I need to hear what he has to say. Truly hear him. Want me to come along, she offered. Ever vigilant. No. I need to do this myself. Alone? That night. Sleep was elusive. I lay awake, sifting through every possibility, every potential outcome. Would he ask to cancel the agreement? Would he blame me? Would he try to manipulate me again with practiced ease? Or, just perhaps, had he genuinely changed the next day? I arrived at the park 15 minutes early. I sat quietly on a bench beneath a grand old tree, watching the ordinary rhythm of life pass by. Mothers with laughing children, couples holding hands, their futures unwritten. Old men deeply engrossed in chess. Ordinary life, the kind I'd forgotten, still existed. Right at Treyam, I saw Jacob in the distance. He walked slowly, his hands shoved deep in his pockets, dressed simply, wearing flip-flops. No sign of arrogance, no expensive watch. He sat down a respectful distance from me. No hug, no kiss on the cheek. Hi. Mom. Hi. Son. We sat in a profound silence that stretched for 2 long minutes, each second feeling like an hour. Finally, his voice, shaky, broke the quiet. I don't even know where to start. From the beginning, I offered gently. That's always easiest. He gave a small, shaky laugh, a sound devoid of humor. I messed everything up. Didn't I? His voice cracked, thick with emotion. I ruined everything, and I made you feel like you were the bad guy. I remained silent, letting his words hang in the air. After Emily left, I felt completely lost. Then I realized she was only with me while the money was easy. And the easy money, Mom, came from you. My chest tightened. A familiar pain. Jacob. No. Mom, let me finish. I used you. I used your boundless love, your incredible kindness, your profound loneliness. I made up disgusting lies. I even invented a grandchild. How? How could I lie like that? His voice broke completely, tears streaming unheeded down his face. I knew you were struggling. Mom, I saw it. And I still spent recklessly. I pretended not to see because it was easier. Because all I truly cared about was myself. Tears rolled down my own cheeks then. Silent. Unbidden. But I let him continue. Knowing this raw confession was necessary, Emily didn't turn me into this. Mom, I did this. I chose to lie, to exploit, to hurt you, and now I'm paying for it. Though it's still not enough for what I did. He wiped his face with the back of his hand, took a deep, shuddering breath. I didn't come here to ask for forgiveness, Mom, because I don't deserve it. I just want one thing. He looked at me, his eyes red-rimmed but clear. Please. Please don't let what I did kill you inside. Live. Be happy. Even without me. I looked at him then. My son, who had once broken me so completely I didn't think I could ever put myself back together. But who now, in this moment, seemed truly, painfully awakened. Jacob, you shattered me to the point I didn't think I could ever put myself back together. I admitted, my voice trembling. He nodded. tears falling fast, acknowledging the depth of his actions. But you're still my son. And part of me, even with all this hurt, still hopes you'll learn from this, Jacob, and become a real man. I'll try. Mom, I promise. Don't promise me, I said, my voice firm. Promise yourself. I took a deep, cleansing breath. The agreement stays. You'll pay back every single dollar. Not because I need it, but because you need to understand that every action, every choice, has consequences. Real ones. I understand, he whispered. When you've paid it all back, if you truly change, then we'll talk again. Slowly, carefully, we'll try to start rebuilding something. And if I can't, I added, my voice tinged with a quiet sorrow, then you'll understand that some bridges, once burned, simply can't be rebuilt. I stood up. But I hope you can. He stood, awkward, uncertain. Then, I opened my arms. He stepped into them like a frightened child, burying his face in my shoulder. Sobbing uncontrollably, I held him. For the last time, as a mother, offering blind, unconditional forgiveness, and for the very first time, as a woman who finally knew that real love, true love, sometimes has to say, enough. I wiped away both our tears. Now go fix your life, Jacob. Become the man your father would be proud of. He nodded, a silent promise, and walked away. I watched him go, my heart heavy, not happy, not sad, just profoundly, unequivocally peaceful. Do you imagine that's where the story simply ends? A neat, beautifully wrapped package? Not yet. There was more. So much more. The months that followed that park meeting were strange. A period of quiet rediscovery. For the first time in many, many years, I lived purely for myself. Not for Jacob. Not for the lingering memory of Mark. The payments, a constant reminder of the past, kept arriving reliably on the 5th of each month. Exactly $1,000. Right on time. No accompanying messages. Just money. May. June. July, 3 more thousand steadily accumulated in my account. I began to use some of it to finally fix up my house. The walls had yellowed and peeled. A stark testament to my long neglect. I chose a light, calming beige that instantly made the rooms feel brighter, lighter, more alive. Helen, my steadfast friend, helped me pick the perfect shade. Julie, look, she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. It feels like a brand new home, and it did. Not just the physical walls, but the entire house seemed to exhale, as if it too felt the immense weight lifting, the air finally clearing. In August, Janet showed up at my door with an unexpected suggestion. Julie, my group's planning a 3-day beach trip. Just a small guest house. Nothing fancy. Come with us. My first ingrained reaction was to refuse, to claim I didn't have the money, that I had far too many things to do. But then, a quiet rebellion stirred within me. I looked at my bank account. Nearly $5,000 saved. $5,000 of my own. Hard-earned money. Free to spend without a single pang of guilt. Without a single justification needed. I'll go, I said. A decision blossoming like a flower. Janet's smile lit up her entire face. And I did go. For the first time in 4 long years, since Mark passed, I left the city. I dipped my tired feet into the cool ocean waves, ate fresh, grilled fish by the shore, drank cold, sweet coconut water, and laughed until my stomach ached with genuine mirth. At the guest house, there was a small group of women, all in their 60 seconds and 70 seconds. At night, we sat on the porch, listening to the rhythmic roar of the waves, sharing our deeply personal stories. Every one of us had suffered, had lost something precious. Yet, here we were, still alive, still whole, still finding the courage to start over, again and again. One woman, named Jessie, with striking short silver hair and bright, sharp eyes, turned to me and said, "You know what I've learned? Julie, people don't truly die when their hearts stop beating. They die when they stop living. So many keep breathing, but they've been dead for years. Walking ghosts." I looked at her, and a profound realization washed over me. I almost became one of those people. I almost died while still physically alive, lost in grief and exploitation. But I woke up. I woke up just in time. I came home from that trip with sun-kissed skin, a remarkably light heart, and a vibrant sense of renewed energy. September arrived, bringing with it a strange call from an unfamiliar number. "Hello. Is this Mrs. Julie? I'm Marcia, calling from the Social Security Administration. Do you remember coming to our office a few months ago to review your retirement benefits?" I remembered that day vividly. I had gone there in desperation, clutching at any hope of a small increase in my monthly check. "Yes, I remember," I said, my voice cautious. "Well, I have good news," Marcia continued, her voice cheerful. "You were supposed to receive an adjustment back in 2021, but there was a calculation error. You'll be receiving back pay, and your monthly benefit will increase to $3,640. I was silent, completely frozen by the unexpected news. "Mrs. Julie, are you still there?" "Yes. Sorry. How much did you say?" "The back pay is $11,280, which will be deposited within 30 days. And starting next month, you'll receive $3,640 every month." I hung up the phone, staring blankly at the wall. 12,000 yuan. Plus the higher monthly payments. Not a staggering fortune. No. But it represented something far more valuable: freedom. Enough to live without the agonizing choice between essential medication and groceries. I cried then, but they were tears of immense relief, of profound gratitude, a quiet acknowledgement of justice. October, November, and December passed, and the money, both Jacob's payments and my increased pension, arrived steadily, reliably. Jacob didn't call, didn't text, just quietly honored his commitment. Then came January, my 69th birthday. A small, simply wrapped box appeared at my door. My hands trembled slightly as I opened it. Inside was a card and something delicate wrapped in tissue paper. I opened the card first. "Mom, I don't know if I still have the right to call you that, and I'm not sure I'll ever get another chance. But today is your birthday, and I couldn't let it pass by like it was nothing. I've been in therapy twice a week. I'm learning to look at myself, at what I've done, and at who I truly want to be. I have 13 months left to finish paying you back. 13 months I'll carry as a constant reminder of what I did to you. I found this in an antique store and thought of you. Happy birthday, Jacob." I unfolded the tissue paper. Inside was a small, exquisite gold pin, shaped like a cluster of tiny purple grapes. It was delicate, old-fashioned, a beautiful, poignant piece. I held it gently in my hand and burst into tears again. He remembered. He remembered those innocent days when we picked grapes together in the backyard, when he was just a little boy, his lips stained purple from eating too many. He remembered when we were still a real family. Unbroken. I put the pin back in the box. not ready to wear it yet. But I kept it. A symbol of fragile hope. Time passed, and the house, now vibrant with new paint, grew warmer. Filled with a renewed sense of peace, I tended the garden again, planting cheerful yellow roses that my husband Mark had loved so dearly. I bought a few new, comfortable pieces of furniture for the living room and replaced the old, flickering television with a modern flat screen. It wasn't about showing off. Not anymore. It was about learning to care for myself, to believe, truly believe, that I deserved a good life. A beautiful home. Helen and Janet had seamlessly become an irreplaceable part of my world. We had breakfast together 3 times a week, took leisurely morning walks, and sometimes watched movies at the mall. I realized, with a profound sense of gratitude, that I had true friends. Not just polite neighbors, but real, unwavering friends. People who held my hand when I felt weak, who celebrated even my smallest joys, who constantly reminded me I wasn't alone. By June of 2026, only 3 payments remained on the agreement. That's when Jacob called again. "Mom, can I come see you this time?" I didn't suggest a neutral, public place. The boundaries had shifted, solidified. "All right," I said, my voice calm. "Come to my house." Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock. He arrived precisely on time, knocking softly on the door. He no longer had a key. I had taken it back when we signed the agreement. I opened it. He looked different, noticeably thinner, but healthier. His hair was neatly cut, his clothes clean and simple, devoid of any designer labels. There was something new, profound, in his eyes. Humility, genuine remorse. "Hi." "Mom?" "Hi. Come in." He stepped inside, his gaze sweeping slowly around the freshly painted walls, the blooming garden visible through the window, the tidy, welcoming furniture. "Your house looks beautiful." "Mom?" "Thank you." I poured coffee, a silent offering, and he accepted. We sat on the porch, enveloped in a comfortable silence, a peaceful silence. "Mom, I came to ask something." He turned the coffee cup slowly in his hands. "I want to pay the remaining 3 months all at once, tomorrow, so I can finally close this chapter." I looked at him, surprised by his request. "You have the money I do. I've been working extra hours, taking side jobs, and saving up every cent. I need to end this, to move forward with my life." "What about Emily?" I asked, a lingering curiosity. He smiled sadly, a true, unvarnished smile. "She married a businessman in March. I saw it online. I guess she finally got what she always wanted, money without effort." "And what did you find?" "Jacob." He looked at me, his eyes open. Vulnerable, shame, regret, and thanks to therapy, a bit of peace. I haven't forgiven myself yet, and maybe I never will. But I'm trying every day, truly trying. I felt my throat tighten, a wave of profound emotion washing over me. "All right," I said, a quiet acceptance in my voice. "I'll accept it." The very next day, $3,000 appeared in my account. The debt was paid. On paper, financially, legally, but inside, some wounds, I knew, still needed time. Slow, gentle time, to truly heal. 3 weeks later, Jacob called again. "Mom, would you have lunch with me once a month?" No expectations, no pressure, just to talk. Slowly, I hesitated for several long seconds that felt like a full minute, weighing the gravity of his request. "All right," I finally agreed, but with conditions. 1. You must be completely honest with me. Always. 2. You can never ask me for money again. Ever. And 3. If I ever feel this isn't good for me, if it causes me more pain than healing, I'll stop. And you must respect that without question. I agree. Mom. All of it. And so, slowly, carefully, we began. 1 lunch a month. At a modest, unassuming restaurant. We talked, seeing each other as 2 separate, evolving people. Not just mother and son trapped in old patterns. It wasn't easy. Some days, old anger, old hurts, flared. Some days, he carried so much guilt, so much self-recrimination. He could barely speak, but we kept going. In August of 2026, I was watering flowers in the yard when I heard the garden gate open. It was Jacob. But he wasn't alone. Mom, this is Dr. Robert, my therapist. He wanted to meet you, if that's okay. A man in his 50s with a kind, reassuring smile shook my hand. Mrs. Julie, your son has told me a lot about you. I wanted to thank you personally for setting those crucial boundaries, for respecting yourself. That, more than anything, is what truly helped him grow up. If you had kept rescuing him, he might never have learned to stand on his own 2 feet. His words, a professional validation, pierced my heart with a profound truth. For months, for years, I had quietly wondered if I had been too harsh, if I had somehow failed, been a bad mother. But no, I had been a real mother, one who loved deeply enough to let her child face the difficult, painful consequences of his actions. Who taught, even when the teaching hurt? Both of us. In September, the Social Security back payment arrived $11,000. A small fortune. I donated $3,000 to a local nursing home. A gesture of quiet compassion. I spent $2,000 renovating my bathroom. A long postponed act of self-care. And I saved the rest. Understanding now that financial security wasn't a luxury, it was a fundamental necessity. October and November came and went. And our monthly lunches slowly became twice a month. Jacob talked about his work, about his ongoing therapy, about learning to live simply but meaningfully. He didn't talk about women or parties anymore. He talked about purpose, about kindness, about rebuilding his own foundation. And I, in turn, learned to be Julie again. Not Mark's widow, not just Jacob's mother, but me, a 9-year-old woman, living in a cozy, sun-filled house, surrounded by blooming flowers, supported by true friends, traveling when she wished, laughing freely, crying openly when needed, bearing scars. Yes, but now profoundly proud of them. On Christmas Eve of 2026, Jacob came, bearing a small gift box. I swear it's not money, he said. A shy, almost boyish smile playing on his lips. It's a real Christmas gift. Mom, I opened it, my hands trembling with anticipation. Inside was an old photo album, meticulously restored, filled with pictures I thought were lost forever. He as a child, him with his father, me with Mark, all of us. A family, in those far-off, cherished days. I found it at Aunt Linda's house. He explained softly. She kept it after you moved out when Dad passed. I had some of the faded photos professionally restored. I turned each page. My life unfolding in black and white. A tangible history. On the very last page was a new photo. Jacob and I at one of our recent lunches. Smiling. Not perfect, but undeniably real. Jacob. My voice trembled, thick with emotion. Mom, I know I can't erase the past. I know it's always there. But I want you to know that every single day, I'm trying to become the son you truly deserve. I hugged him tightly then. Not the blind forgiveness of a mother lost in denial, but a hug that recognized effort, acknowledged profound change, and accepted the quiet, fragile possibility of trying again, one day at a time. We spent Christmas together that year. Just me, him, Helen, and Janet. A simple dinner, genuine laughter, peaceful, comfortable silence. When they finally left, I sat on the porch, looking up at the vast, starry sky, and for the first time in years, I felt completely at peace, because I had learned the hardest, most profound lessons life can offer. That real love, true love, demands boundaries. That a mother who genuinely respects herself teaches her child to do the same, even if it hurts. That forgiveness isn't about forgetting the pain, it's about moving on with a lighter heart, unburdened by bitterness. That dignity has no price, is not for sale, and that, unequivocally, it is never, ever too late to finally choose yourself. I took the small, exquisite purple grape pin Jacob had given me. I carefully fastened it to my blouse, right over my heart, and smiled. A genuine, earned smile. I was back. Julie was back. Scarred. Yes. Irrevocably marked by life's trials. But standing tall, and finally, truly, gloriously free.